Hi, we're here this morning at the Shelton Valley Enduro. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on my very successful YZ250 setup. We have used this bike for many years, just the way it sits in this configuration. And I gotta say, we're not bragging here, but we've won a lot of events with this machine, just the way it sits. So let's jump right in. First, we're going to talk about suspension. And I want to say it's pretty simple. This is a 2005 bike. If you have 2005 suspension, you don't have the triple S forks, it doesn't matter. I didn't get our triple S forks until recently. The main thing is find your local trusted suspension guy, have it sprung for your weight, and have it valved really soft. That's my main thing. Have it valved really soft. You can always turn it up. It's never been a problem. It's never been a problem if we go on the motocross track or get G outs. It works just fine. If you go moto, turn up your compressor a little bit maybe. Exhaust. I use a FMF Gnarly. It's my favorite pipe. It makes good bottom end and mid range, and it's thick. And this one's about due for straightening. If you see down here, I've straightened this pipe a bunch of times, and this isn't affecting performance. If it does, or when it gets worse, I'll straighten it again. Also, on U.S. Forest Service lands or Department of Natural Resources, I use a spark arrestor. I just happen to use a Pro Circuit Type 296. But when I'm doing real fast stuff on close courses or closed circuits, this is my go-to. I use Pro Circuit R304. It's my favorite pipe. It makes a noticeable difference to run this as opposed to the spark arrestor. It really squirts off the turns. Next is a skid plate. You need a burly skid plate. If it's a thin skid plate or like 1/8 inch thick, that's not the one you want. This is 3/16 of an inch thick. It's a ricochet skid plate, and it takes a lot of beating. Don't skip out on that. Next is my fuel tank. I use an IMS. I believe it's about 3.2 gallons, and this is the Ty Davis IMS fuel tank. It's from Zip Tie Racing. I don't know if it's still available or not, maybe. But it's narrower, it hangs a little lower, and it's really not any wider than a stock tank. For fuel, I mix it 40:1 with Maxima 927, and I use ethanol free exclusively. If I'm going someplace, if we're riding or racing someplace where it's really fast, I use a gallon of racing fuel mixed in with my ethanol free pump gas. Steering damper. Highly recommend these if you can get your hands on one. I was able to find this used on Craigslist. I just bought the hardware for my bike. This is like cheating. In a woods event like we're doing today, I turn it all the way off. But when things start getting fast and choppy, I turn that dude up about halfway. It really helps. It takes all the shudder out of the bike. It takes all the deflection out. It really makes it easy to hang onto the bike when you're going really fast at full acceleration across the chalk. Next, tires and wheels. Okay, if you have for years and years, I ran a 19 inch without issue. Without issue. You don't have to have an 18 inch rear wheel to do this. I did come up with an 18 inch rear wheel recently, and so I went with it because it was free to me, and so sure, I'll take an 18, but don't worry about 19. I run Golden Tire. I run the fatty front. I run the biggest tires I can get. I run the fatty front, and I run the 120 rear. I run big tires. Okay, there you go. There's that. And I run Michelin air stop tubes. Okay, on to gearing. Stock gearing works really well on these. I use a 14 front and a 51 rear. Most of our riding here is woods on the west side and desert on the east side. When I go to a desert event, if it's really fast, I put a 15-tooth counter sprocket on it. You have to add an extra link and master link in order to pull that off. But everywhere else, I use 1451. 1551 in the desert, that's good for on the upwards of 80 miles an hour. Hand guards. Of course, you got to have some hand guards. Get good ones. Get them with a drop in them so that they clear your brake line. And select whichever ones you like. And yeah, you can. I have banged up my wrist a little bit coming out of these, but you know what? When you crash, it protects your levers. And you're smashing off of trees all the time, it's a good thing. Okay, if you're still with us at this point, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. I have lots of other content coming up, all motorcycle related. We do a lot of stuff. What we talk about is the engine, and I think this is the most important thing. To me it is. It's the biggest piece of this that I'm glad that I didn't change, and that's the engine. Leave it as a race bike. Do not try to detune it. Don't put a flywheel weight on it. Don't do anything to detune it. Leave it full hot rod at all times. The only time it's any kind of disadvantage is if it's super slippery. And other than that, you can kind of soften it out a little bit by running your spark arrestor. But other than that, you bought a YZ250 because you want a bike that rips and that absolutely screams and squirts off the turns. Leave it like that. When you go racing, you're going to have a distinct advantage. Again, thank you for watching my video on this YZ250. Happy trails.